showing up to The Leap. I am so excited for this conversation. We have phenomenal speakers. I mean, these founders are so inspiring. They inspire me, so I know they'll inspire you. So I'm excited to jump into this conversation. We'll start with the ladies first. We have Laura DiFrancesco. She is an entrepreneur, a corporate attorney, founder of Dean Street Law and Flourish Co-working Space, which is gorgeous, by the way. Laura is a thought leader in personal development, business, and corporate law. She's leveraging her experience negotiating hundreds of multi-million and multi-billion-dollar transactions and representing thousands of companies to create business and legal products to help protect and scale businesses. She is publishing a book on the evolution of growth and creation from the care of our mind, body, and soul. She loves to provide value and share what she knows to empower others. She's been featured in numerous media placements discussing business, law, and money. Laura is also the recipient of many awards, including the Herman Mitchell Swartz Award for her contribution to the achievement of equality of opportunity and treatment of women. Very impressive. We also have Frederick Akpoghene, who is the founder. He's a four-time founder. Get ready for this. Serial tech entrepreneur, software engineer, entertainment businessman, and the list goes on and on and on. He's leveraging his robust experience in software engineering and business. Frederick founded JéGo, a technology company making it easy to experience and discover local community businesses using autonomous vehicles and robotics. Connecting community businesses to customers on the go in a post-pandemic society. I mean, this is where we are now, right? His other company, Scizzrs, Scizzrs, just in case you guys want to look it up, has also witnessed tremendous growth and has been listed as one of the top 11 companies to invest in for 2020 and 2021. He also became a NASDAQ milestone maker in fall 2020. Amazing. I am so excited to introduce you to both of these amazing founders. Thank you so much for being here. I am honored. I'm super excited for this conversation. Hello.
Hi, thank you, Erin. Thank you so much for introducing me. Hi, everyone.
Where are you guys located right now?
Ladies first. Laura, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm in Westchester, Pennsylvania. This is Flourish Co-working Space. So this is the co-working space that I own and operate my businesses out of.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Hope my lighting is not too bad. And I'm currently in Miami, and our office is located here in Miami for JéGo's company. And but I go back and forth between Columbus and Miami. We have a house in both cities.
Sunny Miami. I need to visit. I haven't been there in a while. It's been a while. So it's about time to get that Miami sun-kissed glow.
It's worth it. Sure.
Yes. Talking about your leap moment. We start every leap conversation with the leap moment. This is a time when you were like, okay, I'm done. I'm taking the leap into entrepreneurship. This is it for me. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. So can you both recall a moment when you were going to take that leap and transition and decided to go full-time entrepreneurship? We'll start with you, Laura.
Sure. So it took me a while to come to that moment. I knew it for probably a decade or more before it happened. And I was waiting to do a few things. So I worked in corporate law, in big law, and I was waiting for a few things. One, to be able to save enough capital where I had a significant runway to support myself. I have self-funded all of my businesses, so that was really important to me. And then the other one was I wanted to get to the point of diminishing returns. So I wanted to work in big law for a sufficient amount of time where I felt like I had counseled so many businesses that I had gotten the experience that I wanted to be able to run my own businesses. And so once that happened and it all clicked, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. put in my 2 weeks notice. It did take me probably a year or two longer than I expected. It took me a while to get up, all of the nerves to do it, and also build my support system behind me too. I think sometimes us as entrepreneurs are more risk takers, and then those in our lives are sometimes not as risk takers. So those conversations in our lives can be important to do in a way that feels good. And when it happened, it was a big leap, and I had an incredible time. The first 2 weeks, I started writing books, went on a great vacation, spur of the moment, and then was called by one of my Fortune 15 clients with a boardroom of 7 in-house counsel. And we're like, oh my God, we need Laura. So my first deal was a $4 billion deal to negotiate starting my own law firm. So it all happened very quickly, but it was a huge leap, and it was a lot of fun and very well worth it.
You mentioned making sure that you saved up enough money to start your own business, but what did you do? Did you take some of the clients that you worked with before, and that's how you were able to start your own law firm? Or did you go out? Did you have to find new clients? What was that experience like?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. I never approached any of my former clients. Some of my former clients approached me after I left. So that was how that came about. And then I also sought out additional new clients and everything. I really wanted to have enough runway though, so that I didn't have to worry about clients for at least a year, because I wanted to give myself time to write books, to create educational products, which took longer than expected because I got so much legal work more quickly than I expected. But then I worked on developing my business as well in looking for other clients.
Awesome. What about you, Frederick?
I was pretty much born into entrepreneurship, right? So my story is kind of different. Both my parents, had their own businesses. My father had our family's business, pretty much a furniture factory, where we make high-end furniture, and also architectural finishes business and real estate development. So from a very long time, I've been involved with the family's business as a director. And when I pretty much migrated to America at the age of 17 for college, I came here to play basketball. And the decision to go full-time started naturally, really, as an immigrant. You can't really earn any other way other than to either work on college campus for $350, a month, or, you start your own business. So my first business was actually in digital marketing and nightlife. So I started in college officially as an entrepreneur. And over time, that morphed into a different business, which was, centered around providing a website and software development services to athletes in the NBA and NFL. I traveled a lot for that. Started around the age of 21 for that. Worked with a lot of NBA champions and NFL champions. Was behind the scenes for a lot of stuff. So it started pretty early for me. But at some point, while I was investing in multiple businesses, because other than just building businesses, I do also invest. I did have an opportunity to work for a tech company, and that was in my mid-20s. So I took it because money was good. And, one of the reasons that I left that was because there was a ceiling, and they, I still always had my other businesses running, but they became part-time per se, if that makes any sense. Because you can't, Laura, you understand what I'm saying. You can't juggle a 9-to-5 with a business. So that was how my path started. I started as an entrepreneur, then caught in my mid-20s, living in New York, expenses and everything, how to get a full-time job as well. But when I left the tech company, it was a leap of faith. Because I realized that I was making a bunch of money for this company. I can't, because of NDAs and stuff, I can't mention names and any of that. But I did basically realize how much my time was worth and how much I was making this company. So why not do that on my own? And from the very first month, we had pretty much a 5-figure deal that was worth, in an annual basis, was worth, way more. And that secured everything, and it just kept rolling. And it's been a referral basis, in the span of 5-6 years, I built 3 multi-million-dollar businesses.
So you were working at a company, and then you were just like, you know what? I have this entrepreneur blood in me from my family. It's like burning in me. I'm just going to do this on my own and go full time. Or were you just kind of juggling, trying to see how long you can juggle both before you made the leap? Like, what was that event that happened?
So how I put this, right? So I skydive, right? And I just rely on my killer instinct. That's just who I am as an entrepreneur. Obviously, you compile that with data. And so it was really, again, as mentioned earlier, it was more of me seeing how much I was making the company, the proposals I brought to the company, like, okay, we could do this together. And it was turned down, and I was just, that was it for me, really. And I decided that I was going to just go full time, and it worked out. I mean, had I not made that decision, I would never have made all these progress that I've made over this year. So that's my guide, and one of the things that guides me as a businessman is just follow my killer instinct and, Mamba mentality, just not second guessing. I don't think too much. I just take action. So that was really how it was for me. I don't spend too much time trying to evaluate decisions. Obviously, I evaluate decisions that are vital and crucial based on data, but I have a gift of analyzing this pretty fast and knowing if I'm right or not. Yeah,
no, that makes sense. So what, for both of you, and we'll go to you, Laura, you've been an entrepreneur for a while, like, what were some of the major challenges that you faced, and what would you do differently if you can go back and do it again?
My biggest challenge that I faced initially was, silencing the noise around me, because my parents are both entrepreneurs as well. My whole family's entrepreneurs. And despite that, they were very risk adverse. And so, started to create my own boundaries of, I have ideas, I want to speak them into existence, I want to create them into existence. Who can I bring those ideas to? Because when you have ideas, they're like babies. They're like your baby that you need to protect. And when you want to put it out into the world, you have to put it out into the world with your ride or die people who aren't just ride or die love you, but like ride or die, you can do this, you're amazing, who's your hype squad. And so that was my initial challenge. So I didn't become an entrepreneur until I was 30. So I was, 7 years into corporate law before I felt comfortable. Now, all of that time served me well in my experience. And I believe that everything happens as it should. But it definitely took me a while to get to the point where I was ready to really make that leap. And then my biggest challenge that I've had since I've become an entrepreneur has always been hiring, managing talent, managing our team, and the HR piece of it. I'm very, very good. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be very cognizant of what your skills are and what you bring to the table. And then also, conversely, what your challenges are, what your weaknesses are, what you need to keep an eye on, build up. So my challenge is, I'm really good at strategics. I'm really fantastic at leading a group. But in terms of managing a group, it's entirely different. Managing and leading are two totally different things. And managing has been a challenge to me, particularly, it's inevitable as an entrepreneur leading teams that you're going to have conflict of some type, and how to manage that conflict in a way that brings every person, brings you, the company, and your team forward in a really great way is challenging at times.
I love that you mentioned that, because we actually have an HR workshop following this discussion about how to manage teams and finding talent, keeping talent and finding them keeping them engaged. So that's definitely a common challenge that a lot of entrepreneurs have. So thank you for bringing that up. We're almost at time. I had one more question I wanted to ask you both. So you mentioned, Laura, that you self-funded your business.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs, they go that route where they self-fund. But Frederick has had the pleasure of interacting with investors, having other people and investors invest in his business. And so I would like for you, Frederick, to talk about that investing experience. And do you recommend getting investors or self-funding? And Laura, I would love for you to jump in there with him and talk about some of the things you need to look out for, because you have a ton of experience with working with investors, negotiating those contracts and things like that.
Laura, you want to go first?
Sure, absolutely. So I chose self-funding for a few reasons. I have a lot of experience in mergers and acquisitions and private equity and working on funding for, investment funds as well as funding for companies. So I have a tremendous amount of experience in that, working on everything from, $100,000 up to $200,000 that you're fundraising, or not 200,000, 200 million, sorry, that is being fundraised. So I found, based on my experience, that one, you lose a lot of control, and of course you lose a lot of equity when you're bringing in investors. And of course it just depends on what your situation is, how you can negotiate, what leverage you have in order to do that. I am a full control freak. I want to control over everything, how every dollar is spent, every decision is made, the creative direction, the direction of the business. And so I didn't even want to go down the direction of silent partners or anything like that. I just wanted everything my own. So I wanted to self-fund it myself and have full control as well as full benefit of it. So that was why I did it myself. It is challenging because you have to come up with the funds. Dean Street Law and the LD brand are both ones that cost, $5,000 to start. So they didn't have a lot of startup capital. Flourish cost, $80,000 to start, but the first year, had expenses running up to $200,000. So that was significantly more challenging to self-fund, but both of them were worth it. I did do one first so that I could self-fund it in a way that was easy to maintain, lean startup, and then went into a company that took more of significant investment when I had ability to do that because of diversification of my income.
Laura, just like Laura, I come from a background where it's like, you're taught, you build it first and you attract the investors, right? So all my businesses up until Scissors and JéGo were self-funded. And the reason being, those businesses were more of what we call lifestyle businesses. You can make up to $1 million annually to take care of yourself and whatever, your family and your lifestyle, whatever. However, with tech companies, when you could choose to build with your capital, which is what I did with Scissors. We built with our capital for the first few years, and then we attracted investors because we needed to scale rapidly globally. If you have intent of going global and you're self-funding, there's a lot of risk that's tied to that, right? It's rare that you see that in the tech space because you're burning millions before you get to profit, before your break-even point, right? And with JéGo, we're building an autonomous vehicle in robotic space, which is several hundred of millions to get the company to where it has to be. So we have parties that have invested and are part of that. Like Laura did say, you obviously will give up control at a certain point. Fortunately, there are ways to legally protect yourself, whether it's from, up your voting rights, not having co-founders too early. Like in my case, I've learned to, diligently or spend a lot of time picking who your co-founder and who that will be, because you got to think about long-term perspectives and not just the short term, because people's goals change. And if it's your vision, people's lives and everything changes. So you have to work with people who are in it long term when it comes to in this space, at least in tech, because it's a long game, a lot of money being spent. And yeah, you could go both ways. Elon Musk was one of the tech founders that used his exit funds, right, to fund his ventures. It's risky, it's rare, but when you have, and they're not rare, there are a lot of tech founders who've had exits, pretty liquid exits. They have a few million and they jumpstart, there. So I got JéGo running through my personal funds, but in order to scale this to where we need to take it globally, it's going to need a lot of money, a lot of capital, a lot of engineers, and engineers are not cheap. So, the best engineers, cost 6 figures minimum, per year. So, and you need several of those. So, each of them have, like Laura said, there's pros and cons on both sides. There's benefit. You have full control, and it might grow slow, and you might get to the goal, or you will get to go eventually. And like I think in your space, Laura, and that's a service. Like I also have a software development company, which is similar to how your legal service will work, right? Mm-hmm. So in that company, I control 100% of the company. There's no need for me to, and we have employees and everyone, right? Engineers and all that work for us. So that kind of company would give room for such. So it has its own pros and cons on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. It just depends on what your capital needs are, what your risk tolerance is, and what your end goal objectives are as well.
Right.
Amazing. I love that. I know we're at time, but I wanted you both to quickly just talk about your companies, how we can keep up with what you're doing, because you both are doing such amazing and interesting things. I can't wait to see this self-driving car. So, talk a little bit about that, and what does JéGo mean? Because there's meaning behind the name as well.
As mentioned, yeah, because I had when you would put the flyer up without the accent, I'd mentioned to correct that because of the meaning, right? So JéGo, actually, so I said Jé for a reason. I emphasize that. So it's JéGo, but it's from an African goddess, more specifically Yoruba goddess, the goddess of commerce, goddess of marketplace. And I was very intentional with that. I could have gone with a god of marketplace. I wanted to lead with that because my personal beliefs is tied to first of all culture, where I'm from, but also just paying respect to women as source of life. So JéGo means commerce on the go, basically marketplace on the go. So we're using autonomous vehicles and robotics to connect community businesses to customers on the go. And our first use case will be COVID testing and IV drips. That's the area that we're focused on because of the pressing need. And, you just saw the mandate with Joe Biden talking about 100, I think the mandate was about 100 million vaccines or tests. So there's a demand per se there. So we want to fulfill that to, draw the users to the platform because there's a digital marketplace that's connected to these pods. So it's an IoT solution really that we're building here for smart cities. So we're building infrastructure that will allow us to, set up a moat and have other businesses build on top of the infrastructure that we've set up. We're very passionate about increasing revenue and making the logistics network more efficient for community businesses, because last year during COVID, there was about 1 million businesses that went out of business, right? And the percentage of small businesses that either relocated to the suburbs or that went out of business in the metropolitan areas has climbed significantly, and a lot of businesses that were able to recover have had to adjust and deal with lower revenue sources. So you have other players in the area like DoorDash. They have you've probably seen videos of it, like robot delivery robots on campuses. And another company is and these companies are more so focused on transportation and delivery. Zoox, Amazon bought them for 1.3 billion last year. So and they haven't, they're not commercial yet. So Amazon probably brought them in-house. I'm not sure what they're doing. No one knows what they're doing yet. It hasn't been released, but they bought the company for that price. And it's an interesting space because, by 2040, they're about all the cars, was it 2040 or 2045? There will be a ban on human drivers on highways. So,
I saw that. Can you believe that? I mean, this is where we are, the world of technology. There might be a ban on human drivers. Oh my gosh. So what about you? How can we follow you? How can we keep up with what you're doing, Laura?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're local to the Westchester area, of course, you're welcome to visit us at Flourish. We have tons of events for networking and business and everything. And then I also have the LD brand and Dean Street Law. So to provide fantastic resources, legal resources, and business resources for entrepreneurs. So everything from starting your business, all of the contracts necessary to operate your businesses, apps, e-commerce, services-based businesses, whichever yours are. I have resources for all of those in the shop and in the vault, which is 24/7 access to your legal mentor, almost like having in-house counsel, but at a fraction of the cost. And of course, Dean Street Law also for custom legal services. So I have the booth if you guys want to check it out. I included $40 off of our website bundle, which is our best seller. It is all of the contracts you need for your website to comply with law. So you can check that out. It's available for the first 20 people who purchase. So you can hop on that.
I appreciate you both. This was an amazing conversation. It went by so fast.
So fast. Thank you.
Thank you. It was an honor. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.